If you can't tell, the Mole is a very expected new ship. It's been like this for well over a half hour now as backers eagerly anticipate the Mole. We have no idea, honestly. Everybody's still waiting to get sale information. 890. I've seen speculation all over the board, but we don't know yet. It's literally Concierge having a meltdown, wanting the Mole for like the last, I don't know, an hour. So Concierge Chat has completely been taken over by people doing Mole parody titles. So in spirit and support, um, we're gonna just kind of camp here and wait, and hopefully CIG is flipping the switch on the sale page soon. Because I'm personally really, honestly, like super excited for the Mole. There are a lot of concept ships that CIG does that make no sense for the current PU, right? Like they just have gameplay mechanics that are so far out it doesn't fucking matter. Or it's another combat ship, which like the Ares, for instance, I feel like is something new in terms of combat ship. Like it's not just another light fighter. It's not just another whatever. It's a pretty unique heavy fighter. But with the Mole, it's something that fits really well into the current PU. Personally, I'm not a really big fan of mining with the Prospector, but with the Mole being multi-crew, it means I can go out and do mining with like Moose Speed and other people from the channel. So I'm personally really excited for the Mole. Yeah, totally, Boomtaka. Or Boomkata. Totally. I don't disagree with you, Mr. Fabulous, or to an extent. I don't know about all ships, but I think ships big enough to feasibly be like, oh yeah, this ship would have the space to retrofit into something more. Yeah, I would get behind that. Yeah, I've got a harbinger sitting by to hopefully CC you into the Mole. We'll see. It's gonna depend on what the price is for the Mole. If it's like 400 or something like that, then I'm gonna hard pass for now. I don't think so, Boomkata. I think you have to be in one of the three turrets. So the pilot is strictly flying. So you either have to land next to a rock if you want to solo with the Mole, and then go down to the turret to use it. Hey Mole, how's it going? I This has to be like your day right here. I think that's fine, honestly, Mr. Fabulous. Like it shouldn't just be like able to take out a multi-crew mining ship and then the pilot's like, yeah, whatever, solo YOLO. I think that's fine that they have to land and get out and then use the laser. Otherwise, like the prospector really fucking doesn't matter. I don't think it's gonna be sub. Oh, euros maybe. But USD, I don't think it's gonna be sub 300. I would guess at least 300. I'm kind of betting in the 300 to 350 range personally. The mole's pretty big. Yeah, we do know. I don't know the exact dimensions, but it's fairly large. Like not quite constellation length, I don't think, but it's also got multiple decks on it, so it has like more than one story. So it's a pretty big ship. I would bet on the Starlifter, the C2, the Hercules, going up again when it goes flight ready. It's already had an initial like in development price bump, right, from like concept to the current price. I think it's 360 right now. I would bet on it probably going to 400 when it goes flight ready, knowing like CIG's usual price increase, like bumps. That would be my guess. Is it's going to go up to 400. I don't know if I totally agree with that 890 because the C2 has quite a few different uses, right? Like obviously you can shove 2 tanks in the thing, but it's got a decent cargo hold and it's like the Caterpillar. It's underneath the Hull C in terms of like size and mass, so it'll be able to land on basically whatever planet you want to fly it out to. And right now that doesn't matter in the game, but if the game ever gets to the point where cargo is more fleshed out and we have more planets that do have varied gravities, that's going to be a big deal, especially because the C2 is aerodynamic compared to like the giant flying brick of a Caterpillar. This is the first time I've ever seen this, Mr. Fabulous. I've been in chat for a lot of concepts, and I've never seen chat whipped up over it this much. Which again, I totally get. Like the mole, I feel like everybody I know is interested in buying the mole. Like even people who like from my Discord who are critics of the game and skeptical or whatever. Like basically all of us are like give mole. So I think this ship is very much in demand. I think a lot of people who back the game, Raheric, are like industry leaning in terms of like they want to do space trucking or they want to do mining, salvage, stuff like that, right? And the Mole is the first multi crew industrial ship we get. So there's a lot of like hype around that. Like I could give two shits about a prospector. I don't have any interest in ever doing mining by myself. Like I've rented one to do like recordings for videos, and I had one when it first came out to kind of like do a review on mining. But outside of that, I don't want to mine by myself. But if you throw in the mole where I can do it with a group of people, like adding friends to the mix just always makes things better. And I think that's one of the reasons that the mole is so anticipated. I mean, yeah, but like the Orion's just so fucking massive. I don't know if you know how much bigger the Orion is now than when it was first concepted. Um, it's I think it's longer than a fucking Idris now. So I mean, it's a little bit large for like where the game is right now. That's why I think the mole is perfect for the current PU. It's bigger than the prospector by quite a bit, but it still kind of fits in that middle ground between the prospector and the Orion. And the game honestly needed a mining ship in that range. Like it's absurd to be like, oh yeah, you get a single seat mining ship, or you can have this giant fucking capital ship. I think that's the right course of action for CIG. I think it was a really smart move. Yeah, the Orion is just massive now. It's absurdly large. It's huge. Yeah, pretty much John Christoph. It's right up there with Olisar almost. It's huge. It is so big now. Pretty much Boomkata. Hey, Scumfield. Everybody's just kind of like spamming Concierge Chat nonstop with mole related movie parody names until CIG releases the Kraken or Mullen. So I'm just joining in with my fellow mole anticipatory people and kind of waiting it out for CIG to go ahead and throw open the floodgates on the mole sale page so that we can grab one, hopefully, as long as it's not absurdly priced. And then we'll switch over to 3.8 PTU and gather the troops and have some mining shenanigans. I would really really suspect B20 that the mole will be the new loaner for the Orion. I would be very mad if I owned an Orion and the mole was not the new loaner. Yes, mole. Yes, really. Release the mole in. I'm ready. I think sometimes they're hit or miss with loanerships, but I feel like that's a no brainer. If they screw that up, I would be shocked. And I would anticipate a lot of people bombarding General and Concierge Chat asking them to rectify that situation ASAP. That's really like that's one of my biggest kind of like concerns with doing packs. B20 is like you really have to be careful how you upgrade, especially because like once you start upgrading into the larger dollar value ships, you start running out of options to like have any kind of flexibility with that pack, and then you fuck it up enough and you're stuck with either melting it or just living with your poor decisions. Like personally, whenever possible, I would go for standalones just so that way, say a ship you no longer like it anymore and there just aren't really any good CCU flexibility options, you can just be like, well, fuck it, melt, and then just buy back an LTI token and go from ground up. But unfortunately, by doing LTI tokens, you don't get the savings that you do out of packs, and some of those packs have hundreds of dollars worth of like savings. The exploration packs are both two good ones. Both the 695 one and the I think it's 1300. Both of those you save like a good chunk of money. Yeah, exactly. So it's definitely the trade off of going with a pack. You just have to be really careful how you CCU because you can find yourself in a dead end really quickly if you're not careful. Or if new concepts come out and you're like, oh man, I want this more than something else that I had that already fills that role, and then you're just screwed because there's no reversing a CCU on a pack. Unfortunately, it'd be great if you could individually remove CCUs. Yeah, I agree with that, Fabulous. I would much rather have more ship modularity than specific variants. I think that's kind of one of the big things about Star Citizen that I'm not a huge fan of. I would much rather see more modularity versus variants. Unfortunately, that's the course that Star Citizen went. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm not saying that it wasn't supposed to be modularity. I'm just saying that's what we are left with currently. I mean, maybe someday in the future they'll double back around on that and start shifting away from role locked variants to modularity, but I'm not going to hold my breath on it. I really hope that there's a rework coming for the Retaliator. Like, I hope that they've already done it for Squadron 42 and they're just sitting on it for now, Jean. Because I think Vanguard and the Retaliator outside of Crusader ships, because that's my like new thing. Um, Retaliator and the Vanguard are like hands down the best looking older concepts in my opinion. I love the Retaliator so much, but God, it has so many problems. Yeah, definitely. I mean, even you can take a what do you call it? Even the Ares sale, right, Mister Fabulous? You're already pitched between two ships that are hull locked with their size 7 weapons, right? And they're so different in components that like you can't buy one and then just be like, oh, I'm gonna go buy like even if they sell them, right? If they sell those size 7 weapons individually, you can't just buy an Inferno and be like, oh yeah, I'll pick up the size 7 laser cannon and plug that baby in, and then I'm good because the ion uses completely different components in order to power and cool that the laser cannon. So I mean, even that alone, even though they're technically kind of the same ship, if you wanted both different versions, you'd have to buy both of them. So yeah, I agree. It sucks when they split variants up like that, but it is what it is. Like that's Star Citizen. I'm over fighting that battle because backers have already kind of accepted that. So there's no point. It's the same thing with like LTI on credit purchases, right? I think it's super fucked that you you have to use new money on a new concept sale if you want lifetime insurance. But you know the community let that one in, and I guarantee CIG is never going to back that one out. So, you know, it's one of those things like I'm not going to scream my head off to try to fix something that the community's already been like, yeah, we like this. This is fine by us. If it was that big of a deal, then there would be an outrage and uproar and people would shut down their wallets, and then CIG would be like, okay, maybe I should not be doing that. We don't know the specific power plants, Wiser, but the Ion has more, has an additional power plant and cooler, I believe, over the Inferno. So, I mean, if they do sell the individual weapons and for some reason they do let you switch out the laser cannon with the, or excuse me, switch out the ballistic Gatling gun with the laser cannon on the Inferno, you're going to have power and cooling issues because the Ion is built specifically around it. Yeah, I'm just like I'm not gonna. I don't feel like trying to defend a community anymore, type deal, right? Like, especially when you have to argue with the community to be like, no, look, this is in your best interest, and they're like, no, shut up. I'm just not. I don't want to do it anymore. Like that's a big part of why I'm trying to get rid of like certain attitudes on the channel because I'm not gonna fight with them anymore, and it's for me it's just better to just purge that off because I don't know if I'm always going to have the restraint to be like, ah, fuck it, whatever. I'm not going to respond to that. Yeah, for sure, Sawbones. Like there would have to be a trade off, like stripping out the armor plating to put in the power plant or the cooler or something like that if they wanted to do that. Ideally, what I would like to see them do with the Ares is give both of them an option that kind of like jives with what do you call it? The weapon type they already have. So like the Inferno is using a ballistic Gatling cannon. Give it also a ballistic cannon option, and then same thing with the Ion. It's using the laser cannon, so give it a laser Gatling cannon option as well. So that way you can mix them up, but that way the components are still like viable for that weapon damage type. Ooh, a patch. I wonder if that's going to be the Moly Moly live patch. I hope to God it is. It's just so like my big issue with it, Sawbones. Obviously, it's got to be balanced, right? And there would be things that CIG would have to look into it further. My big thing is like I've been a hardcore Vanguard fanboy forever, right? Like since the initial Warden concept, back when like it was just the Vanguard Warden and that was it. I've been through like the years of frustration as a Vanguard owner when you had no compatibility options for like weapons. So like if you just have a bad patch or a bad couple of patches, fucking even worse, where the MVSAs were just trash, or you know, with the chin mount on the Vanguard, you know, back in the day we had the M7A, we had the Combine Ballistic Cannon, and we had the default Revenant Gatling Cannon. And if those weren't good, or you know they didn't line up with the convergence, I mean obviously convergence is an issue now, but if those weapons weren't all performing good, then you had a giant flying $250 paperweight basically, right? So that's my concern with the Ares is having it be a hull locked weapon and literally like there are no other options for it. It makes me nervous of like iterations where like let's say the Ares comes out, everybody has a huge knee-jerk reaction to getting Alpha Strike by Ares, so CIG nerfs the damage output. well then you don't have any flexibility. You can't be like, okay, well this one got nerfed, I can switch over to this and still be competitive. It's just going to be, well, my ship's nerfed. There's literally nothing I can do. Whereas like, Super Hornet, Sabres, stuff like that, they can switch out their guns with the meta. Like let's say, what do you call it? Repeaters go out of fashion and then it turns over to Gatling cannons, like it did at one point. They can be like, okay, cool, strip off the repeaters and mount up all the Gatling cannons. And the Ares, as far as we know right now, at least, won't have that option. So it's definitely something I'm kind of concerned about. And it's weird that CIG didn't address that like going forward, because I feel like that should have been a no-brainer lesson from the Vanguard. And it seems like the Ares is about to just jump right into where the Vanguard used to be. I don't disagree with you, right, B20? I understand that like it's really early on and balance is never going to be perfected, especially right now. That's it's something even release games struggle with. My big issue is you get to a point where ships like the Vanguard, you're talking ships that are hundreds of dollars, right? In the Vanguard's case, it was 250, and there are other fighters that are right pretty close up there too. Like Hurricane, I think is 180, Super Hornet's 180, Sabre's 170, something around there, right? They're expensive, and not everybody is going to throw in hundreds of dollars on an account, right? So let's say the Vanguard's your only ship because it's 250 fucking dollars, and this is a video game, and who spends more than that? Back in the day when the Vanguard didn't have any options for its weapons, if you had a milestone patch, or God forbid, multiple milestone patches, so you're talking like 6 months, maybe even a year, where those proprietary weapons were just garbage, you didn't have an option like other fighters did to be like, okay, let me strip these out and put in what is working good during this build. And that's my concern with the Ares and why I'm hoping that CIG is at least keeping that in the back of their minds, because it has the potential to just basically come full circle on all of the things that the Vanguard did wrong, and jump right into its place. And I really don't want to see that, because it looks like a cool fighter, right? Like it's something different. Um, like I really, really like flying fixed, even with a mouse and keyboard, and it's been really hard with auto gimbals. So I'm really hoping that like this ship is going to have the alpha strike to where if you can land shots, it's going to be competent for fixed flying versus the auto gimbal fucking plague. No offense to people who use auto gimbals, that's fine. I totally understand it. Um, it's just I want the ship to be at least competitive. I'm not asking for it to be OP, but I want it to be competitive, and the whole like proprietary locked in weapons makes me very nervous. That's what I'm hoping for, Sawbones. I'm hoping that new patch is the ship sale, putting it in game for other people patch. We'll see. I'm trying to refresh it here and there. For Highlighted patch notes out of the patch that's dropping. Filling the Caterpillar with cargo should no longer cause significant frame drops for those nearby. For those of you who were hanging around in Loreville or Levski last night and suddenly had your server's frame rate go to fucking the ground, that would be the reason. Oh yeah, Moose Speed, you ready? It's gonna be brutal because if this goes live right now, I don't have the kids because their mom's sister's getting married, so we can get some drinky drink on and go out breaking rocks. And that's gonna be fun. I'm sure. Like what could go wrong? It's not like I'd pass out and crash into a planet or anything. It's honestly going to depend on the price. If it's if it's over like 350, 375, I don't think I'm going to pull that right now. I do indeed have kids, Pazuzu. So like the deal with server side OCS though, Leonardo, is that like it does help the servers, but it only helps the servers if people aren't spreading out all over the place, right? Because what server side OCS does is allow the servers to shut down areas that aren't being used, right? Like nobody's around it, so why spend resources on it? But if you're in a server where people are all spread over Stanton doing their own thing, then server side OCS isn't really going to help a ton. I mean, obviously it's going to help a little bit because there's going to be something that's not being used unless everybody like strategically spreads out into like every corner of the Stanton system. But it's not going to be something that's just going to magically fix all of Star Citizen's woes in terms of that. No, it better not, Joseph. It's going on sale today. Or so help us, we'll burn this thing down. I think for the size of the ship, 300 or 350 is probably appropriate. You know, just going by like other ships in that size range, plus it being an industrial ship. Um, Viper, in terms of how much better the frames are, they're pretty much the same as 3.7 roughly. The big thing that 3.7 or 3.8 is doing is improving server stability and like performance. So it's going to be more on server side improvement with 3.8 than it is going to be client end. Oh my god, don't even say that, Mole. How could you say that? That would be maximum coal in the stocking from CIG if the Mole gets delayed out until January when they come back from the holidays. I can't imagine that's going to be the case, right? If they're already flying it around in the PTU. To be fair, so what are we on? We're on the Oscar patch, right? I believe, the one that's coming out right now is the Oscar patch, the O patch. The one that we've had today and most of yesterday was the N November build. That one seems to be grossly more stable than Mike was. I know I was on servers for at least 3 or 4 hours, and I had to get off to go do other stuff. So I think the servers are way, 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 way more stable in the current build. Well, hopefully this new one is still retains that. Honestly, the only complaints I had with the build that we had today were bug-related things like FPS weapons not firing. God, what else was happening? Like random weird stuff, right? Like really just sporadic bugs. Nothing that was super game breaking except for the FPS stuff. That was really, really bad. Because obviously, like, one of the main focuses of 3.8 is the 890 jump hijack mission, and you literally can't do it if your weapons can't fire. But in terms of stability, the November build was very, very stable. I didn't have any issues with it all day. Prowler is in March, I believe, Sawbones. I think it was Cutlass in January, Carrick in February, and then Prowler in March. Yeah, right. What Mole said. Yeah, so it's January, Cuddy, February, Carrick, and then March is Prowler. Oh God, don't say that. Don't say it. That would be hell. I mean, this is like one of the few ships that I've actually been like really excited for in a long, long time. Obviously, the Ares as well. Both of these new concepts are really, really appealing to me. While the Ares might not be as appealing to some people, like for me personally, in the way that I fly and like do combat in Star Citizen, the Ares is huge for me. And then the Mole is finally giving me something to do that's not combat related that I can do with friends. I mean, like technically you could do space trucking with friends, but it's kind of boring to do that with like somebody else, in my opinion. Like, there's not really a reason to do it. Others might disagree, but with the Mole, like it finally gives me something that I can do with friends, and that's huge for Star Citizen, especially with all the other quality of life improvements that have been slotted into 3.8. Hull Cs aren't coming for a while. There's a lot of shit that they need to get sorted out for that. McWiley. Technically, it doesn't necessarily fill a role that the prospector can't. It's just that you would need multiple prospectors in some cases, or maybe not, given the, what do you call it, the new laser head tips. It's more of like an enjoyment factor. I mean, one, it's a little bit larger of a ship, so you can hold more ore, which means you can be out mining for longer in one sitting. Instead of taking multiple prospectors with like a group of friends, you all are on one ship. And then in terms of the Orion, like the Orion is just gargantuan. It's like comparing a semi truck to a freight train loaded with cars. And that's kind of like the difference between comparing the Orion and the Mole. Like the Orion is just so much more massive than the Prospector. The game needed something in between, and I think the Mole is perfect for that. I feel bad, Move Speed. I feel like I'm always flying in the game, so I try to let you fly so that you can get some enjoyment in. I agree with that, Sawbones. It really, really bothers me that you can't just directly transfer credits to somebody else, especially party members. I really, really wish that CIG would implement something like that. I complained about that a lot when they first introduced group missions, or actually they hadn't introduced them. They were on the roadmap and they were like coming up in the next patch. And I was like, this is cool and all, but please give us a means to pay people. Like, it just simplifies so many different things if we could just directly pay people. And unfortunately, we don't have that. But yeah, it would be great if you could do that instead of having to use beacons in order to pay people. Because yeah, they don't always work. You can't guarantee that the person you want to give money to is going to be the one that snipes the beacon. There's just a ton of different reasons that beacons aren't great. I mean, I'm sure it's coming, right? Like, I'm not saying that they aren't ever going to do it. It's just something that they should have done much sooner on. Oh, good call on the different size mining heads. Honestly, I don't know. I haven't looked into the mole. Like I've been purposely avoiding all the mole stuff that has come out of like the devs letting people run around with them because I just want to see it for myself. That's kind of the downside of like this new system that they've been doing since the Mantis and now the Mole, where like they tease the new ship by having the devs fly it around and grace people with its presence. I really miss the older PTU days when like a new ship would be on the PTU build and literally everybody had access to it, so everybody could test it out and like go over it. I don't really like that you have to like literally rely on running into a dev and having them stop by and be like, "Here you go, look at this new ship." I'm not a fan of that personally. I think they're gonna be there's gonna be quite a few years yet, blank blank, before this game fully comes out in whatever fashion it comes out in. Like, there's just so much more stuff that they would have to do, which I think like most level-headed people understand. There are obviously people who like think that next year is gonna be the year, and I don't think that they have like a realistic expectation. That would kind of be the year that I'm thinking too. Robert, is like 2025 is probably the nearest release date they're going to be looking at. I would imagine by 2025 they could get a lot of things sorted out that they need to get sorted out and hopefully like refined. No problem, later. So the chat platform that's streaming right now is the official Star Citizen forum. Yeah, it's called Spectrum, and it has both your standard, almost kind of like Reddit style forum boards, and then it also has chat. This particular chat room is the Concierge Chat, which is locked to anybody who's spent more than $1,000 in Star Citizen. It's really kind of weird, honestly, Mo. Like sometimes there are people who are concierge regulars who kind of I'm like, all right, I need to go to a different chat room for a while. But at the same time, like when I don't want to deal with like madness that you can find in general sometimes, it's almost like better to jump over to concierge because it's a little more usually relaxed. I mean, the game is definitely getting to a point, blank blank, where like you actually only need to spend $45. Like a year ago, actually, was it a year ago? It would have been about a year and a half ago. A year and a half ago, I would definitely say that like you had to spend more than $45 to get any kind of enjoyment out of the game. But now that the game has in-game ship purchases and rentals, it's definitely a lot easier and realistic for people to kind of get to the point where like they can enjoy more of Star Citizen because you can get access to different ship types and do different roles and stuff, and just better ones if you're only into combat. So it's definitely at a point now where like you can only spend $45 and actually get enjoyment out of it. The only issue I've ever had with like the whole you only need to spend $45 thing is every 3 months there's a milestone patch, and every 3 months they usually wipe the database, which means any progress you got done is cleared off the board. It's gone. And with the start of 3.8, it's supposed to be a point where you're no longer, hopefully, they're no longer wiping so that you're losing all of your progress unless something comes up where they have to. I'm kind of holding my breath on that to see what happens because they definitely left the door open for them to still wipe. But if they actually do follow through with that and they stop wiping the database, then that's a huge one. That'll change the landscape of Star Citizen by a lot. To get to a cutlass, probably not that long because there's a lot of options you can do for getting credits now. Because what's a cutlass at? Is that a mil? I think it's a mil, right? You could probably do that in about a week, at least. Like casual play, I would think a week. Like casual play, not like banging out fucking grinding. It's definitely feasible. It's definitely feasible. You're gonna be doing more like combat missions and what do you call it, like FPS stuff though, because you can't do box missions, which would be pretty chill way to make that. Um, and obviously you can't do cargo flipping because you don't have any cargo capacity. So it wouldn't be that bad. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it, Mole. Like I'm optimistic. I hope it happens, but with CIG, there have been plenty of times before where they're like, "Oh, this is going to happen," and then it just kind of slides. So, and again, like by them saying, "Oh yeah, we're going to have persistence in, and we're not going to be doing this wiping in between patches anymore," unless there's something with the database or some other balance reason we need to wipe it. That kind of leaves me like a little hesitant to be like good faith trusting that that's what it's going to be. Because even if it's not malicious, right? There have been plenty of times where they've had to do a database wipe because of like item duping over and over again and other things like that. So it's definitely possible that it's not going to always be the case, but I mean, optimistically, I hope that it is because it definitely would change Star Citizen for a lot of people who don't want to spend money. I mean, you kind of can, Hendrik. It's really sketchy paying people with beacons, but theoretically, like if you have a friend who plays Star Citizen and he has the bigger ships, he could go out with you, do missions that make more money, and then or even cargo hauling rather, and then pay you through a beacon so that you can go out and buy a cutlass in game with in game credits. So I mean, it is theoretically what you're asking for is possible. I can understand that for sure, Commander Hawk. I know a lot of people are really, what do you call it, frustrated with older concept ships that have been kind of just idling while we keep seeing new ships that come either straight flight ready or they go to concept and then end up flight ready before many, many other ships that have been waiting in line. I can totally understand that, man. I think like I'm getting more to a point like if 3.8 is a sign of things to come, Mole, and like they keep moving in the right direction, like to me personally, what's the right direction? I could see buying in more again. It just depends. I'm kind of hesitant over a lot of the sim aspects that they're adding, like survival stuff, having to eat and drink and shower and all that. Those are elements in games that I'm normally turned off by, like with Rust, with Ark Survival Evolved, stuff like that. I can't stand that crap. Like I just want to build and do stuff, right? So I'm really hesitant on that. It's going to depend on them getting other gameplay loops introduced, like salvage, refueling, repairing, medical, base building, pioneer, stuff like that, right? If they can get that stuff introduced, it'll kind of keep me more interested in the game, even if combat stays crappy, objectively crappy like it is right now. Like I just don't enjoy combat in its current form. That could change because it's changed many times before. So right now I'm kind of looking at other stuff. So I mean, if CIG can keep pushing that stuff out to in like a quality form, keep doing quality of life improvements like they did with 3.8. 3.8 has a lot of stuff that fixes a lot of my gripes with like playing in the PU. I could see buying back in. I don't think I'll ever buy back into the level I was before, but at least to a point where like I have stuff that I would enjoy playing. Musa. So the mole thing is the new Argo Mole. It's a multi-crew mining ship, and basically everybody is rioting because they want CIG to open up the sale page, which I completely support and commend them for doing. I think everybody, I mean, everybody I know is interested in this ship. Even people who are like kind of critical of the game, if they're like, they own the game and they still play, basically everybody I know is waiting for the mole. Don't you be messing with me, man. I hate you, Zev. I hate you deep down. Unless it's on a specific page. Let's see. Nope. Curse you. You feel good about that? Making me go check? Getting me all excited? Bastard. I don't care as much about capital ships as I used to. There was a time when I was super caught up with capital ships, but I'm kind of at the point where, I mean, it would be fun potentially, but I'm also kind of concerned because like you take the 890 jump, right? That thing goes from a full tank to empty so fucking fast. You literally can't do almost anything with it. If they're making capital ships on par with that, or even worse because they're military capital ships, they're going to be really useless to play, unfortunately. So I'm kind of like not really caring about capital ships right now. If they start introducing stuff like the Polaris and the Idris, and we kind of get a feel for it, I mean, it's not a big deal to get one. But at this point, I'm not really paying attention to them. We don't have a price on it yet, Commander. I haven't seen anything from CIG, just everybody basically speculating. If I had to guess, I'm guessing like 3 to 350 is my personal guess, but we'll see. You never know with CIG, right? Like sometimes their pricing is just out of left field. I would love to see that gameplay added, Casey, for sure. We don't really know if it's actually getting released soon, Belt Tower. Everybody's just kind of assuming that it is because of ISC. There's a new patch getting pushed to PTU, so I think a lot of people are just expecting that CIG is going to release it today, hopefully, instead of tomorrow. The most expensive ship, I believe, is 3,500 if you buy it with store credit, and what, 3,200? Something like that with new cash. I don't remember exactly. It's the Javelin. I've never really paid a whole lot of attention to that ship because it's just so absurdly big and expensive. Mining's worth it if you're careful about what you're mining. You really have to pay attention to the density of the rocks you scan before you bother mining them to make sure that like there are minerals in it that are worth collecting. Are you sure it didn't get price bump, Commander? I think it did. I could be wrong. Hold on, let me see. I can pull it up really quick. Let's see. Nope, you're right. It's 3,000 for credit mix or 2,700 Warbond. You're correct. My bad. For some reason, I thought they bumped the Javelin, but I guess not. Oh yeah, absolutely, Calexis. I'm just waiting to see how it ends up. Actually, I shouldn't say absolutely. It really depends on how much the mole gets priced at. If it's over 350, then I'm going to pass for now. And I might grab one later on. It's Christmas, you know, kids making me broke. So we'll see. I've got a couple CCU options in the like 200 to 300 range. So as long as it's not like over 350, that's something I can just grab for the hell of reviewing. Yeah, I appreciate it, Calexis. I'll let you know. It's just going to depend on how much they price it at. I haven't seen shit on the 890 Jumps SCU fix, unfortunately, Mad, which is really frustrating. Like, it's so weird. It's the first capital ship they introduced for the game, and like There is so much broken on that ship. I had one for a while when it first came out, so I could do a review, and then I was like, oh yeah, man, this will be something fun to like screw around with people on the channel. And it just so much on that ship doesn't work. The beds don't work. The cargo SU is all jacked up. The fuel drain is so fucking fast. I haven't even gotten around to messing with the weapons because the last time I had one to mess with, like if you fired the rocket turrets or whatever on it, it would literally crash the server. So I mean, I melted the 890 jump because I was like, okay, well, I kind of like covered it slightly in a review, and that's good enough. Like this thing is just unfortunately nearly $1,000 digital paperweight right now. I mean, it's really nice having a hanger. I think it's cool, but at this point, like the Carrack is around the corner in a couple months, so in my opinion, the 890 jump is literally just a E-peen measuring stick for people to flail around and be like, look at how much I spent. It has no use in the PU currently. Outside of, I mean, if the cargo was fixed, you could be like, oh, well, this is a relatively immune cargo hauler because there's not a whole lot that's going to crack open an 890 right now. Yeah, there's just so much broken in the 890. It's unfortunate because I mean, for one, it was kind of like the Concierge flagship for a long time. Like there are so many people very passionate about that 890 jump, and it's crazy that CIG released the 890. It was so broken, and they've just said nothing about fixing it. Like every single patch, you see people comment like top of the patch, like right away, please address the 890 jumps cargo. And I've just never seen anything from CIG in response to it. There's probably something somewhere, but I've just never seen it. Oh man, it looks like the mole fighters are wearing down. Chats be slowing down. It's unfortunate that I didn't start this up when they originally started doing the mole movie title parodies because it was legit. Like it had to have been at least almost an hour straight of just spamming. Like you couldn't say anything in Concierge without it getting spammed out because people were just spamming movie titles, replacing various words with mole. It was fucking great. Zidez, hey man. It would depend on what kind of Titan, or I mean, not what kind of Titan, but what kind of constellation you want to push it up to. If you're, and honestly, what kind of gameplay you're looking for. If you're looking to do hauling, I would absolutely consider going from a Titan to a Taurus because, I mean, it's not that much more to jump. And the Taurus honestly has a pretty solid amount of SCU. And until they actually put the Taurus in game, you also get a constellation Andromeda for a loner. So you're getting a pretty great deal there in terms of like what you're actually spending. Yeah, like Matt M4 said, that would honestly be my recommendation if you want to do it for cargo reasons. If you want it for utility reasons, like oh hey, I've got a lot of cargo, I can carry a vehicle, then again, I would say Taurus probably because it's cheaper for like the near future at least. And again, you get the Andromeda as a loner. If you want to do it for like combat reasons, I would avoid the constellations like the Plague because they're literally just flying tombs. I don't think so, Matt Mike. The Taurus is 150, which honestly, even if it was in game right now and you weren't getting the Andromeda as a loner, is still pretty solid. For how much SCU you get and just in general how much utility you can get out of that ship, that's a pretty solid deal. I know it's a good bit more than the Freelancer Max. I don't know how they're gonna do the Starfare commander, and honestly, I don't even think they do at this point. It's kind of hard to say like what's gonna happen with it. You're not on the ignore list, Mosquito. I might have just not seen something if you said something. Honestly, I think the Prowler being expected, well, I don't want to say expected because they set the expectation, but the Prowler making it in 3.8, I think was like way overly ambitious for them. I have no idea why they ever slotted that as 3.8. Yep, same Solar. I'm eagerly awaiting that A2, man. God, I can't wait to see the A2 in game. Like, make it happen. Come on, CIG. Honestly, though, just any of their Hercules, I'm super excited for. I like all the variants. I like the C2, the M2, obviously, just because it's a more up armored version of it, and then the A2 for all the fucking many reasons to love a basically an AC-130 Spectre spaceship. Yeah, right now the Starfare is kind of like in a weird spot. It's not a great cargo hauler. It kind of drives like butt, and refueling and refining of fuel isn't in game. So it's like, okay, well, I'm in game at least. Look at me, I'm a Starfare. So yeah, the Starfare is kind of in a weird spot, and I think CIG is trying to like figure out how they want refueling and stuff to work. So it's definitely kind of like a weird situation for the Starfare owners, at least for people who got it specifically to do like harvesting of fuel, refining it, and then refueling. Yeah, I'm kind of weird on the Redeemer. Like, I hope the 8 comes out and it's worth the wait. But at the same time, like, I don't even want to hold on to one just in case because I'm like, oh god, what if what if it changes so drastically that I just don't want anything to do with it anymore. Um, we'll see though. I'm sure. I mean, whenever it does finally go back into the pipeline and starts making progress, it's going to go on sale again anyway. So I'm not worried about it right now. Yeah, same Solar. Like, I'm less excited about the A2 for the bombing as I am like the ground shelling. I really hope that they put something good with a solid explosive radius for the what do you call it, artillery cannon. No, absolutely not, JRD. I would absolutely melt the Aquila if you have a Carrack. Personal opinion, but I would not own both of them. And if I had to pick one of the two, it would definitely be the Carrack. Yeah, exactly, Hendrik. That's why, like, I was saying the Starfare is in such a weird spot because, like, who knows when we're actually going to get refueling and harvesting and refining of fuel. So the Starfare is just kind of sitting there, like, okay, I guess we'll wait and see whenever this mechanic gets worked on and put into the game, and then we'll figure out how I fit. Yeah, unfortunately, some of the what do you call it, Chairman's Club packs, it's kind of weird. Like, a lot of them are kind of that explorer themed or whatever, where you have multiples of just the same repetitive ship. Like, they all fill the same role, and you're like, okay, some variety would have been cool. It's unfortunate because I think like Hearts Woe before he left was trying to do that with future Chairman's Club packs. But unfortunately, the one that I know he like tailored that smuggler's pack or whatever. It does have a good mix of ships, but the savings aren't even remotely as close to what they are with the Explorer packs. So like, it's honestly more worth it to buy the Explorer packs and then just fix them with CCUing. I think the Corsair is really interesting. I'm mixed. I have mixed feelings on the Corsair. I think Drake ships look really cool, for sure. But I'm kind of concerned about like the giant wings, right? Because I feel like the Reliance have really shown that massive wings are very good at getting shot off or broken off. And if they put any of the important weapons on the Corsair's winglets or what sails, whatever you want to fucking call them, it's definitely it's going to be concerning to me. But what do you call it? If I had an Aquila and a Carrack, I would consider CCUing the Aquila to. Oh, you can't because the Aquila is actually worth quite a bit more. Actually, I think the Corsair is like 215, and the Aquila is what do you call it? Um, the Aquila is like 310, so you can't really CCU that. Unfortunately, I wish you could, because the Corsair is just it's like a fucking gunboat more than an explorer. Between EDSC, No Man's Sky, and Warframe, the last one, the best multi crew experience for me. Your thoughts? I think it depends. Like the multi crew. I mean, there is no multi crew in No Man's Sky, for instance, right? In terms of like multiplayer, it just depends. Like they all kind of offer different experiences, so I don't really think they're all comparable. Like with Elite Dangerous, you're literally multi crewing a ship, and that's all you're doing. With Star Citizen, you're playing with somebody else in a ship, but also outside of ship and doing lots of other stuff. With No Man's Sky, you're generally just playing with somebody else, building stuff, doing missions, whatever. And then Warframe is a completely different type of game. Amp. So to melt a ship, like when you buy a ship or a package in Star Citizen, if you go to your account page on Star Citizen, melting a ship means getting rid of that package and exchanging it for store credit. All items that you buy with real money on Star Citizen's website can be melted into credit. So the term is melt, but essentially it's exchanging whatever you bought for store credit to be used on the RSI website. Yeah. So one of the kind of I want to say nice things about Star Citizen, but at the same time, CIG has kind of been messing with the system a little bit, and it's not as flexible and buyer friendly as it used to be. But one of the nice things you can do in Star Citizen is, let's say you buy, I don't know, a Titan Avenger or an Avenger Titan. God damn, I always do that. Let's say you buy an Avenger Titan. You play the game for a while. You enjoy the game, but you want something that can haul a little bit more cargo or has space to put a land vehicle in or something like that. So you can go on their website and you can do what's called a cross chassis upgrade, where you'll take your Avenger Titan and let's say you want a Cutlass Black, you can select an upgrade from your Titan to the Cutlass Black, and all you do is pay the difference. It gives you an upgrade, and you apply that upgrade to your ship you already own, and that turns your ship, your Titan, into a Cutlass Black. It's really nice that like they have these options. Unfortunately, over the years, they've kind of done some stuff in the marketing department to make it a little less convenient. It's not as nice as it used to be, but it is good that like you have that option at least in some form. I don't personally know. Not so like I'm not a big Star Citizen miner. I kind of got spoiled on Elite Dangerous core mining, so it's really hard for me to get into mining in Star Citizen now. That's kind of one of the reasons I'm excited about the mole, because I won't be doing it by myself, and it's kind of more of like something I can do with friends and just kind of get smashed while I'm doing it. So not taking it super seriously. I'm hoping the mole comes out tonight so I can kind of like crash course through it while streaming tonight, but we'll see. I don't know if it's going to actually come tonight or not. I think everybody's hoping it is, since ISC basically focused on the mole, and we literally have like one day until CIG goes on holiday. So hopefully they sell it today and not tomorrow night, but we don't know. And CIG hasn't really said anything, unfortunately. Yeah, I don't, man. It really bothers me that they got rid of $0 CCUs. I don't think that there was an issue with it. If the problem was people like loading them up, they should have just made it to where you can't do multiples. That would have been great. Like, just you can only have one $0 CCU, and you can't melt it to your buybacks. Done, no problem. That way, people would do it however they wanted to do it. Right? You're not backlogging the system if that's legitimately the problem that there was with it. Um, yeah, it's whatever though. We'll see. I don't think they'll do that, Mr. Fabulous. Frankly, I hope that they don't. That would be a shame, right? Like, I would hate for CIG to leave people behind to work through the holiday. Those dudes definitely deserve their holiday break. So hopefully CIG doesn't even remotely consider that. I would rather have like 3.8 burning the house down than having somebody work over Christmas. That would be fucking terrible, especially over a video game that's, it's not releasing anytime soon. I don't think they'll do that. We don't have a price yet for it, Solar. Mostly just people guessing. If a ship is a $0 CCU, so like they're the same value, you can't do that anymore. Yep, no problem, Solar. I mean, for sure, people do work over Christmas. I think it's unfortunate. Like, my girlfriend's gonna be working literally Christmas Eve through the day after Christmas. Um, but I mean, for something that like there's no reason for them to work, right? Like, they absolutely can go. They should go on holiday, and they traditionally do. I don't see any reason to like make them work through Christmas over 3.8. So hopefully that's not something that Chris and company are even thinking of. why why the fuck are you using Spectrum Colexis? I think it would be a terrible idea to attack the gray market personally. Like, I don't think CIG should do that, because I mean, for one, um, those guys buy a lot of shit every sale, with the intent of reselling it later on, because CIG doesn't have items on sale all year round, right? And that would be shooting themselves in the foot, in my opinion. Like, yeah, I'm sure they lose out on some money, right? Like, I traditionally buy everything from the gray market now, and I'm sure there are other people who do as well. Mostly because like there are ways to kind of like cheat CIG's kind of bullshit artificial price inflations. But like also just for the convenience of like, oh, hey, let's say patch 3.8 comes out and I want a Carrack and I don't have a Carrack. I can go on the gray market and pick up a CCU to a Carrack, right? So it's user friendly in the first place, but if they actually switched it over to like trying to shut down the gray market, they would lose out on so much money because those people buy the shit out of everything they sell anytime they put it on sale because they want to flip it. Like it benefits CIG to have the gray market around. I don't really have a fleet right now, Mad Mike. What I do nowadays is I buy stuff based around what's coming out, right? So like I'll have a Cutlass, I have a Carrack, and I have the C2 Hercules because those are the main ships that I'm concerned with covering as they come out through 2020. And then I just kind of fluctuate with the remainder store credit that I have. Sometimes I'll sell it off if I don't need it. I don't think so, Firehouse, because the majority of gray marketers are Russian, and I think that's like the one country area that CIG doesn't have an office in. A lot of them are Russian Chinese. C2's cargo is a little bit bigger than the Caterpillar. I think the C2 is 600 something, and the Cat is what, 475? One of the big reasons that I lean towards the Hercules instead of the Caterpillar is what do you call it? Aerodynamics. Like if CIG ever gets really serious about atmospheric flight models and starts introducing things like aerodynamics, I would expect the Hercules to perform a lot better. And one of the reasons that I think like the Hercules and the Caterpillar and these other like Freelancer Max and other kind of like mid-size haulers, or at least I would consider them mid-size in comparison to the Hull series. Why they're so important is like once you hit the Hull C, you're not going planet side with that stuff while carrying cargo. So like the C2 and the Caterpillar are going to have that niche where they can carry quite a bit of SCU and still go planet side with cargo, where those Hull series are going to be docking at the rest stops. Yeah, you definitely have to be careful with gray market, but there are a lot of really good reputable sellers that have been there for a long time. Like there's no reason to run a risk with like somebody who doesn't have an established reputation because most of them are all very competitive with their prices. Um, if somebody's ever looking for somebody to buy off of through gray market, uh, PM me on Discord and I can give you like a couple different references of people to use. I've used a lot of different sellers, and I've never had an issue with the ones that I use. Yeah, that's one of the problems that I have with the limited number sales Firehouse is because it does. I mean, it opens it up to not only the gray market guys swallowing shit up to resell, but it also like just whales in general will buy multiples of stuff. Like there are many whales who have multiple Polarises, stuff like that. Uh, it kind of sucks when CIG is like, oh yeah, we're only selling this many of insert ship, just because, right? Like it's an artificial scarcity. Like there's no reason that they can't sell one to everybody who wants to buy one. But as a result, people who don't have one and want to get one get screwed over. But there are people out there who have multiples of it. Like I have multiple Idrises in my buyback. There are people who have been struggling years to buy an Idris. I honestly think that they should restrict it so like once you have a ship in your buyback, you can't your buyback or your hangar, you can't buy another one. Like there's no reason that I should be allowed to buy another Idris P. Yeah, correct. You can't gift those. If they're over 1,000, you can't gift it. $1,000 is the cutoff for gifting. Not a lot, Angela. We're just kind of hanging out to see if CIG opens up the floodgates to buy the mole. Pretty much everybody is waiting on the mole. Yeah, $1,000 is the gifting limit. So, like, let's say you have, let's say you have the Endeavor Master set, right? It's literally $1,000. You can gift that. If you have an old school Idris M, that was $1,000. You can gift that. If you have an Idris P or a Kraken, those are 15 and 1750 respectively, I believe. You can't gift those. If they price bump the Endeavor Master set to $110, or I mean, excuse me, 110, $1,010, you couldn't gift it anymore because $1,000 is the cutoff. So, like, let's say the Polaris goes up again for some reason, and it went over 1,000, you wouldn't be able to gift that anymore. But currently, like, if you wanted to buy a Polaris from somebody, you can buy a Polaris because it's under 1,000. Same thing with the Hammerhead, although that it would be weird for that to go up more. But yeah, as long as the individual item, whether it be a pack or an individual ship, is under $1,000, it can be gifted. I mean, there really isn't a reason to despise them. Like the whole like ship rarity environment is entirely CIG's making. Like I'm not gonna fault people for rolling the dice on on playing a JPEG stock market. You know, they're also taking on quite a bit of risk with that. Sorry, Ark. I wouldn't give myself a javelin, so I'm not definitely not giving anybody else a javelin. I just like I know there are people out there who that's like their holy grail ship, and I know people who have bought them. Actually, I know quite a few people who have bought them. To me, that ship is just so absurdly ridiculous. Like, there's no reason to have a ship that big. I mean, I'm sure it'll be cool if it ever shows up in game, but like, it's just so, it's so much. Even to like me, even an Idris is like really getting kind of excessive. Um, like a javelin is like on a whole nother level. Yeah, I think if like anything is absorbed into the industry, um, whenever Star Citizen is finished, regardless of which way that goes, uh, I think a lot of people are going to be studying how CIG did their marketing for a long time. I mean, there's lots of reasons to use the gray market. You can save a lot of money going through the gray market. Versus, I mean, yeah, if you care about like the whole, what do you call it, total spent on your account, then yeah, you're not going to be advancing yourself if you care about concierge rewards. But honestly, those don't really matter. Like once you hit 1,000, the rest of the rewards are pretty much eh. Yeah, cool, Rick. It's. I think it's bullshit that the Pioneer is limited. That ship should never have been sale number limited. Yeah, Hendrik. See, that's the thing. Like the Javelin, just off the get go, it's a huge investment to like get that. I mean, to even buy it, right? To buy the Javelin is a huge investment. It's like, what did we say? 2,700 war bond and 3,000 if you do a mix of war bond or credit, whatever. If credit is involved at all, it's at least $3,000. Um, and that's just for like a broken down hull of a Javelin. Like you still have to repair and refit it. So like you buy a Javelin and it's basically a stripped hull of a Javelin. You have to get all the components for it. So like the amount of undertaking it would entail to actually employ a Javelin, much less like the people to crew it, is just so staggering that like I don't see a reason for it. Like if you're in a big org that has the people and is going to have the resources to mess with that, then for sure, I guess maybe there's a reason to do it if as like your org base of operations or whatever. Um, but it just seems so absurdly excessive. Yeah, exactly, Mole. Like there's really no giant benefit to being concierge. Like I don't even care about my tiers anymore. I was kind of like a little bit peaked over the 600i, but I'm not going to spend $27,000 to get a gold trimmed 600. Um, like I like Origin styling, but I don't like it that much. I think that ship upgrades and weapons and stuff will probably be in the future, Dino. Like we do have something kind of like that with the 300 series when they did the rework. If you buy a 300, you can customize it, right? You can customize its interior, and they also have like component packs that you can change out the default component loadout. Um, I would be very surprised if that system isn't implemented to all ships someday in the future. Honestly, like I've sold off a lot of my buybacks that, what do you call it? That I know that I'm not interested in anymore because I had a lot of rare buybacks, and I'd rather somebody have them than me just have it rot for eternity in my buybacks. Um, so I've already kind of like pushed out most of my like old school LTI buybacks that I know I'm not going to use anymore. Like there are some that I have in my buyback that I'm like, okay, I might use this either when the ship comes out for reviewing purposes, or if the game gets to a point where like I would enjoy it and play it regularly. But for the most part, I've cleared out stuff that like it just isn't wanted. I think the only things I have left are a couple 890s. I have a what do you call it, Hammerhead Warbond. Um, I think that's pretty much it for like stuff that I know for sure I'm not going to use. Current, so a buyback is when you buy a ship or any item, actually. It doesn't have to be a ship. You buy an item from the game storefront on the website, and then you exchange it for store credits. That item goes into what's called a buyback bin, where in the future, if you decide you want to buy it again, you can buy it back, even if it's not normally on sale. That item is always available to you to buy again. Someday in the future, that bin is going to go away and you won't be able to do that anymore. Whenever CIG says, okay, we're getting closer to release, so we're getting rid of this. But yeah, currently and for years now. That's how that system's worked. So like, let's say you buy whatever ship. Like, let's say you buy, I don't know. Let's say you buy a Polaris. You buy a Polaris, you don't like it anymore. You're like, okay, well, I want to use the money I spent on the Polaris to do something else. So you would melt the Polaris, it would go into your buybacks, and then you buy something else. If later on you decide you don't like whatever that something else was and you want to melt it all and then buy back the Polaris, you can do that. Or you can keep whatever you bought at the time, and then maybe you got the money to buy a Polaris again, but CIG isn't selling it to everybody else, but you have one in your buyback, so you can buy it out of your buyback. I agree with that, Mole. That fits me pretty well. I think that's one of the big reasons that like really large capitals no longer interest me anymore is specifically that, right? Like you have to think about the idea of like how many not fun, I guess, how many not fun jobs there are. And I mean, it's just not realistic to expect everybody to want to do the kind of like boring stuff, I guess. I fucking hope that price is not real for the mole. If the mole's 250, I'm gonna be so upset because I'll be fucked. I don't think I have a CC. Actually, yeah, I do. I could CC the Inferno. That's literally. I'm sitting here waiting for Star Citizen to get to the point where gameplay like the fuel rats can exist. Mole. I really hope that like the Vulcan is that point. Starfarer, I guess, but it's such a huge cumbersome ship. I don't know how I feel about that, but that's literally the gameplay that I'm hoping Star Citizen gets to a point where it exists, because like the fuel rats in Elite is like so cool. Like the whole concept behind it of just people volunteering to go out there and rescue people is super cool. So like the Inferno I have right now, Solar, is a, what do you call it? A credit purchase. So like it's not that big of a deal. I'm kind of like sitting on the fence about getting the Inferno Warbond so that I can get the Ember skin. But that kind of depends on whether or not CIG mentions if you can put the Ember skin on the Ion, because I hate the white on the Ion, and what I really want is the cannon, not the Gatling gun, because I suck with Gatlings, dude. Anybody who's watched me do combat with like mantises and stuff, I'm fucking terrible. I just can't stay on target long enough. Like I'm really good at lining up a shot and then overshooting and then having to like pull back over, lining up a shot. Like I can do that no problem. That's why the Ares is super interesting to me, because it's such a high alpha style gameplay. Um, but like the Gatling cannon on the Inferno, I know that I'll be terrible. But I really love the way the Inferno looks. Like that black is so fucking sexy. That's kind of where I'm looking right now for Cynthia. If you can put the Ember skin on the Ion, I would grab both of them just for that. Like the reason I like the black that the Inferno comes with is it matches the Mercury Star Runner. What do you call it? Watch the Sky skin. Which if you haven't seen it, like you can just Google it really quick, like Mercury Star Runner skin, and it'll come up. And it's the advocacy skin, which is, it turns the Star Runner into fucking jet black with advocacy badging, and it looks so fucking clean. Yeah, if you're gonna throw Warbond, then that's definitely the way to do it. I just try to limit how much I spend real money on Star Citizen. Like usually it's buying back an LTI token and then crediting CCUing. It's going to be really tough, Mad Mike, with the way the AI flies right now, especially once you trigger them because they start flying very sporadically. So if you're trying to snipe like those fucking Buccaneers, the Ares isn't going to be great for that, especially against players, because I would hope players have the sense to see an Ares and not fly in a straight fucking line. There's definitely straight liners out there though, so it's definitely a potential that you could be sniping people with that. It's really going to depend. It's so early. Like, I don't want to get into speculating on the Ares because, like, I just think it's absurd to do that right now because we just know fucking nothing about how the ship is going to handle, what kind of range is going to be on that cannon, how much alpha it's actually going to do. There's just, right now, I want to hold off until like we actually know more hard stats for the Ares. Yeah, I agree with that, Hendrik. AI has been a very troublesome area for CIG for a long time, and it really hasn't improved a whole lot. Like they've made it harder by like raising the auto aim level, but that's really it. Like I don't consider that making the AI better. It's kind of like covering for how stupid the AI is by making them like quicker to fucking snap to target and face shot you, but that doesn't make it better. I don't know for sure if the Watch the Skies event is still up. Some of those events you can go to like the page that they used to be on, and you can still do the events. I'm not positive if the Star Runner event is still up or not, but it might be worth googling to see if that site is still active because you might be able to get the skin still. I would generally agree with you, Mole. I think the AI used to be better. It didn't look as bad because like the new AI kind of like, especially the flight AI, right? Like it janks all over because it's like it's cheating. It's cheating. Like it can be going full speed or whatever. It literally stops on a dime, 180s, and then comes right back at you just instantly. Um, so it make not only does it like look jankier because it's pulling maneuvers that just it they shouldn't be able to do, but then you also have the kind of like actual, I guess, server desync going on with it, and it makes it like it makes the AI look kind of like it's regressed. Um, it's a lot harder now, Mad Mike. Like back in the day, I used to be able to do it with the M7A pretty reliably. I don't. I think it's a mix of ESP and the new convergence system. Um, I wish to God that I could turn off the A or fixed weapons shooting to try to like lead targets. I wanted to shoot in a straight line wherever I'm fucking aiming. I hate that fucking system so much. Like back in the day, I could snipe Vandal across the Arena Commander map, no problem. Like 4,000 or 4,000 4 kilometers. God damn it, 4,000 kilometers. No problem. And nowadays I can't because you can lead them right, and you can be right on the pip and you shoot, but the round doesn't go where you're aiming. The round goes where it's predicting the AI is going to be. So if they maneuver at all at those ranges, you can fucking forget about hitting it. I really just want CIG to turn that off on fixed weapons. It's so frustrating. It's a fixed weapon. It shouldn't be like acting like a gimbal. There's no reason for that to be happening. It's so frustrating. I don't know if that's an ESP system or if it's part of the convergent system that they put in so that like multiple weapon loadouts will sync up, because like prior to that system that they put in, I think it was in 3.5 or 3.4. If you had weapons with different velocities, you would have different convergences. So like your shots wouldn't all be landing together at different ranges. So you had to find like the sweet spot where like all of your shots would hit. And then they added the convergent system, and now it seems like if you're using fixed, they shoot almost like gimbals. They don't go straight like they're supposed to. They go, it's like they try to lead and lag your target, and it throws everything up. We don't know, Mosquito. It could be today or it could be tomorrow night. I haven't ever played it with a HOTAS Wiser. The closest I've come to that was doing left stick, right mouse. I really like being able to like specifically aim and fly with my my mouse. I've thought about trying it with a HOTAS, but I don't think I could do it with a space game. Don't say that, Mole. God damn it! Don't say that. That's literally like all I have to look forward to over the holiday break is shenanigans in the Mole. So I'll be really sad if it doesn't drop this week. Because if it doesn't drop this week, it's dropping after the break, which means January at the soonest. It should, yeah, Wiser. I know there are people who do fly with HOTAS. Yeah, I know a lot of stick people are huge fans of dual stick. I've never tried it just because I don't want to have to go out and get an. Actually, you know, now I could. For the longest time, I had the T16K from Thrustmaster. Thrustmaster, yeah. I had the T16K as a left-handed stick, and I actually got a Warthog for doing DCS. So I guess theoretically, I could use the Warthog as a right stick. I don't know about trying to learn doing dual stick. Like I'm very comfortable with using the mouse, and I don't want to have to rewire more muscle memory. It was hard enough doing left stick, right mouse. See, I'm actually in the exact opposite spectrum, Mole. I'm so used to do keyboard and mouse. Like I've had so many people tell me to do Elite with a HOTAS, and I try and I try and I'm like, no, I don't want it. And I always revert back over to mouse and keyboard. Dual stick is usually two sticks. HOTAS would be a stick and a throttle quadrant. I've had so many people swear by dual stick solar. You're not alone. I've had so many people like swear that they literally will never fly anything else in a space game but dual stick. I don't know how people do it because I can't go back to a controller anymore. But I know a lot of people do fly with the game pads, which to me is mind boggling. I just can't do it anymore. Like I've spent so much time on a PC. Like I literally pick up a controller to play console games with my kids, and I can't do it. I'm like, oh, might as well start calling me Boomer now, kids, because I can't even do this shit anymore. Like trying to play Destiny with them, even, which is literally a game that I play all the fucking time on PC, and I'll start playing it on PS4 with the kids, and I'm just trash, utter trash. For me, like a big part of my flight controls is that like I'm just so muscle memory to using mouse in my right hand. I really liked doing left stick and right mouse, but it took so much effort to re-muscle memory that. But it felt really nice. Like you get more of like the refined movements for what do you call it, for your roll, and what do you call it, acceleration and strafing by doing like left stick. But it's so hard to get used to that, and at the same time, one of the biggest reasons I don't like switching off of mouse and keyboard though is that like it's so convenient having all those buttons like literally right there at your finger. And even with a what do you call it, left stick, right mouse, unfortunately you lose a lot of like ability to push things. It's not bad with a voice attack though. Like if you're gonna use voice attack and dual stick or left stick, right mouse, then like obviously that changes things. I just stopped updating voice attack because like things would change so frequently that I was like, okay, this is more work than it's worth. Yeah, Wiser, absolutely. I'm really looking forward to Flight Simulator. That can't come soon enough. I mean, honestly, Calexis, like that's how I feel watching my kids play Fortnite. Like I know it's like cool hat to talk shit about Fortnite, but like watching my kids go ham when they're like building and fighting somebody, I'm like, how the fuck do people do that? Like I feel old as shit when I watch them playing that game. Like I'm decent with FPSs usually, and I used to be way better than I am now. But like watching my kids go ham on Fortnite, I'm like, fuck me, dude. I'm glad this came out when you were a kid and not me, because I would have been trash. Sabo, yes. I don't do VR much because there aren't a whole lot of games that I really enjoy in VR, but I do Elite with VR pretty frequently. Um, I just don't enjoy VR games where like you have to do room scale, right? Like I like VR games where I can sit at my desk and use the controls that I want. Like the flick move, I hate that. It's got to be to where like games like War Thunder, DCS, Elite Dangerous, stuff like that, where like I'm the only VR that I'm getting out of it is the headset, right? Like I want to use my normal controls. So that's why like for me, Elite in VR is great, DCS is great, War Thunder is great, that kind of stuff. I have Wiser. I finally sat down and I went to town on the new season of Rick and Morty. I definitely feel old watching them play. And it's so funny too, because like my youngest, he's what 4 years younger than my oldest, right? And he used to be so bad at Fortnite. Like when it first came out, his brothers hated playing with him, and it was so hard because he was this little guy and he's trying so hard to play with his brothers, and now he's getting to the point where like he can kill the older one. And it's just so funny like watching how far he's progressed. Like he started out just getting killed all the time, and now like he's fucking instant building and shit and fucking sniping dudes and just going ham. And I'm like, get it, boy, get it. It's so funny. Like it makes me so proud watching how much he's worked at it. Yeah, the Expanse season 4 was so good. I really really liked it. I'm hoping to God we don't have to wait a whole nother year for season 5. Especially because like they literally did the season finale in like such a cliffhanger moment. Like that's it's so shady the way that they ended that. Um, like anybody who's read the books knows what's happening. But goddamn, man, that was such a cheap place to end the season. Yeah, same thing, Dino. That's literally how I'm kind of getting to that point where um like I know back in the day, like I used to do FPS tournaments and stuff, and I would place like top 3 very frequently. Um, even on consoles, like I used to do Halo tournaments, and I would usually win or at least place top 3. And now I'm like, oh my god, I'm getting old. Like I don't have the reflexes or the accuracy I used to have anymore. Holy shit. Oh man, the Ashford scene really made me sad. I was really bummed about that. I'm just gonna warn you, Calexis. You probably have about another week to finish up to season 4, and then I'm trying really hard to restrict myself on talking to people about Expanse spoilers, but I can only do it for so long. Because usually when I watch something, I want to talk about it, and it's really hard for me to duck spoiling shit. Combobulous Michael. Oh fuck. I don't know if there's really films I'm looking forward to in 2020. Right now, like the only thing I'm really focused on is the Witcher series. That's like the only thing I care about right now. I'm I'm trying so hard to have faith that Netflix isn't gonna fuck that series up. And it's literally what, like 4 days, 3 days till that's out on Netflix. I really, really hope they don't fuck that up. I will die inside if Netflix fucks up The Witcher. I don't know about Jurassic World, man. The first one was good. It was interesting, right? And then it just number 2 really seemed absurd. Like it was just so like ridiculous. I'm afraid that the number 3, instead of like grounding themselves, they're gonna be like, let's get a little bit more absurd. No way, it's not today, is it, Dino? No, shut up. Hold on. It is. It's the 20th. Holy fuck. If it's at midnight, fuck all you guys. I'm gonna be gone. Uh, Goodbye. I hope to God it's at midnight because I'll binge the whole fucking thing. That would be great. I don't have any plans for tonight, so I hope to God it starts at midnight. Netflix, please. If that's terrible, you're gonna hear about it. I will be bitching on Discord. I will be bitching on YouTube, nonstop for like the next week. So brace yourself. Like I love The Witcher so much. I will be so sad if it's poorly what do you call it, adapted to the series. And Netflix really hasn't nailed a lot of those, so nervous would definitely be the word of the day. I mean, they handle darker shows pretty well sometimes, right? Like Altered Carbon was really good. But at the same time, like more adult shows, Netflix catches a lot of flack from, I hate to use this term, but pearl clutchers. Uh, and I'm really hoping that they don't cave to that because the Witcher universe is dark as shit, right? And there's racism, exterminations, all sorts of sex galore. Just it's really fucked up universe, right? And I'm really hoping that Netflix doesn't tone that down for the sake of like mass appeal. There is supposed to be a new season of Altered Carbon coming. I know that they were filming. I don't know when it's supposed to be due out though, unfortunately. Sorry, I'm just waiting for the well pump to shut off so it doesn't get picked up. All right, there we go. I'm not optimistic on FDev either. Man, I would love to see Space Legs in Elite Dangerous. A lot of the stuff that supposedly was leaked was really, really interesting, especially base building, FPS stuff. Unfortunately, all they've shown is that, God, that whole year of hyping, right? Like the beginning of 2019, they were going like, "Oh man, we've got some major stuff coming. We're not ready to talk about, but we've got some major stuff coming. In the meantime, here's a squadron carrier or fleet carriers or whatever, and some other stuff we're going to be implementing." And then they went like radio silent for like 6 months, and then they were like, "Oh hey, carriers are delayed a little bit, but no problem. They're coming soon." And also 2020 is going to be a big year for Elite Dangerous. Like really amazing stuff. We're not ready to talk about it yet. And then finally, when carriers were supposed to drop for the second time, it's like, "Oh, hey guys, we're actually delaying like fucking everything. But don't worry, 2020, we've got some big news coming 2020, guys." It's like, dude, fuck off with that. Fuck you. Fuck you. Stop making Jurassic Park fucking games and focus on your fucking, like, the game you're fucking known for. I'm so over Frontier right now. Like, that's one of the things that kind of like makes me laugh the most. And people see me like talking shit about Star Citizen. They're like, "That's because he's an Elite Dangerous fanboy." Dude, I fucking am so fucking over Frontier for completely different reasons, right? Like, I don't think that their marketing's predatory. I think for the most part, the company isn't like a bad company. It's just they don't give a fuck about Elite Dangerous. Like their priorities are so on other shit, and it fucking shows. And some of the stuff they do feels super fucking out of touch with their fucking community. So like, yeah, calling me an Elite fanboy would be like the farthest thing from the truth. I just don't care as much about Elite, so I don't really talk about it as much. And I also feel like Elite already has plenty of critics, like very vocal critics. Like you look at the Yamix and he goes ham. And he's like one of their biggest content creators, and he just mocks the shit out of Frontier and the state of Elite constantly. So like I don't feel like there's a reason for me to make videos talking about like the problems with Elite. At that point, I can gladly sit back as just another player and be like, "Yeah, fuck that. That sucks. Tell it, Yamix." So that's why I don't talk shit about Elite. And unfortunately, some people take that as I love Elite to hell and back, and like, "Oh man, I fucking sit around just jerking it to Elite and Frontier." No, fuck that. Frontier makes me so just tilted with the shit that they do. So like my big thing is like I just want a really enjoyable space game that like has a lot of different types of gameplay in it. And I've 100% convinced that if Frontier actually focused on Elite and like devoted the resources to it that it deserves, we could have a really fucking good space game. Because Elite kind of went the opposite direction of Star Citizen, right? Like they started with good foundation where they could build off of it, but unfortunately, like they just kind of were like, "Okay, well the game's out. Let's just milk cosmetics, and we'll put out some stuff when we put out some stuff," and that's it. And it makes me fucking mad because like goddamn, the game could be really good if they actually sat down and were like, "Hey guys, let's make this a fucking good game," and they just don't seem interested in it at all. I don't have a problem with the DLC and shit like that. Like you pick up Elite for like $14, and then the season pass shit for what, another $14, so it costs $30 for more than enough of a game, easily. It might be what, 30 or 25 or something like that if it's not on sale, but Elite is on sale so fucking often it might as well just be called $14. I don't have a problem with that at all. And especially if it keeps the development funded and they keep developing shit. My problem is that they aren't focusing on Elite. So like, I mean, even then, like $30 for the entirety of what's available right now in game is fucking nothing. It just pisses me off because it doesn't feel like they're focusing on the game. They're more concerned with, like, unfortunately, the titles that are more popular for them. Planet Zoo, fucking Planet Coaster, Jurassic World Park thing. Oh man, I saw that that's on Netflix, Omega, and I don't know how I feel about watching it. Like, I really like the quality of Lost in Space, but unfortunately, the writing made me so fucking tilted. Like, oh my god, what? I can't remember the bad girl doctor's name anymore because it's been so long since I've watched Lost in Space stuff. Like the originals or the Netflix reboot, but like that bitch is just so blatantly trying to fuck everybody, and like everybody there is just oblivious to it. Like it's one of those things where like these people are sent out to like establish humanity or whatever in like a colony out in space. So like you would expect them to be fairly intelligent if they're going out to like basically pathfinder humanity. And like all the things they do are just the most absurdly stupid reactions to like what constantly is happening around them that like it's so hard to fucking handle it. Like it's just so tilting because they literally make the worst decisions at every fucking avenue. And it's like, holy shit, please stop being so stupid. How do you not see that this bitch is like constantly trying to kill you guys or sabotage you and strand you? Like, stop giving her second chances. Fucking kill her. Kill her. Murder her with a wrench. Run her over with the rover. I don't fucking kill this bitch. Fuck! It was so frustrating. It was so frustrating. Like, I was really excited when Netflix was like, oh yeah, we're doing Lost in Space reboot. And like, the quality of the show is really good. Like, in terms of like production. Like, it looks amazing and, you know, they clearly put some effort into it, but goddamn, the writing was so frustrating. I couldn't handle it. When I finished it, I was so glad it was over. Yeah, I know it wasn't 14 on release. It was like what, 30? I mean, I don't have a problem with DLC being 30. That's whatever. Like the price on Elite is not going to bother me. Obviously, people are free to disagree with that, but like for me, $30 for more content after like how long had the game been out? Like a while. Um, I don't really care. I would rather pay $30 for more content than have them be like, well, we can't sustain this, so fuck Elite. Let's bury it. It's gonna go ahead and be done with this shit. Like I don't have an issue with that. Obviously, like my game spending habits aren't the same as everybody else for sure. So I mean, you're free to take issue with it. I just don't personally. I'm fine with paying the price for Elite and the what do you call it? I don't even remember the name. Horizons. I'm fine with paying the price on both of those, even if it was full price still. Yeah, for sure. I mean, and that's probably one of the reasons that, like, to me, the price for Horizons literally doesn't make me even blink. Because, like, I went to Elite after Star Citizen 3.0. So, like, at that point, I already spent, like, 10,000 roughly on Star Citizen. So, throwing maybe 60. I don't even think I spent that much because I think I got it on sale. Or no, I bought the base game first and then I bought Horizons after seeing if I liked it. But still, even if I paid 60, I don't remember what I paid. Um, I was fucking fine with that. Like that was a fucking drop in the bucket. Like who fucking cares? There was more than enough game there for me. I mean, I'm not saying you can't be salty about it, right? Arc, like, for sure. And especially if, like, I could see it, especially if you're coming from Elite to Star Citizen, right? Like, it's kind of like me going from Star Citizen to Elite. Like, I look back at a lot of things that CIG has pulled, and I'm like, fucking really? It makes me pissed. Like, there's a lot of shit that they've done over the years in their marketing that really makes me fucking mad. Um, everything from, like, getting rid of $0 CCUs, war bond sales, taking LTI out of anything but war bond sales, devaluing credit so that old money didn't mean shit anymore. Well, I mean it does, but it's devalued by quite a bit. On top of like all the other shit that they pack into war bond to incentivize you to use new money. Just lots of things. There's so many things that CIG has done over the years. So I mean, like where you feel like a lot of, what do you call it? Like angst towards not angst. Fuck. What's the word I'm looking for? Disappointment with Frontier. But I can relate to it. I don't personally see it because like I'm coming from Star Citizen to Elite. And for me, it's like it's a completely different environment. Where like, I spend, what do you call it? Like at most, let's say I spent $60 for Elite. I don't think I spent that, but let's say I did. That's just so little for how much content there was in Elite, especially when I was going over from Star Citizen 3.0, when Star Citizen had like fucking nothing back then. So for me, it was a fucking bargain for sure. And it was also nice going over to Elite where like there isn't a pay to win spectrum, right? Like, and this is as somebody who was a whale in Star Citizen. Like, it was nice that everybody was essentially on a level playing field regardless of their real life income. My biggest issues though going over to Elite were engineering. Whatever idiot decided to put engineering into Elite Dangerous should be fucking slapped, because that system is just so fucking stupid. Like, at the time when I went over to Elite Dangerous, I was really into PvP and Star Citizen, and I went over into Elite Dangerous, and I was like, oh, okay, no problem. So I just got to get enough money to get A-rated components, and then I can PvP. And then I found out about engineering, and I was like, well, fuck me in the ass. I guess not. Because the engineering thing just completely fucking ruins any pretext to doing PvP, because it's completely based on like, well, are you engineered? No? Then have fucking fun with that rebuy over and over again. Especially under like the old system. I mean, like granted, I know they kind of like tinkered with engineering, and it's not as RNG and like kind of random as it used to be with the old system, where like somebody could have a vastly better role on an engineering component than like you did, even though you both paid the same resources and went through it. Somebody could get a god roll on a component and they could just beat the shit out of you because you didn't have that same role. It's dumb. I fucking I can't stand engineering in Elite. Oh, patch push. Let's see, store page. No more. Motherfuck, man. Come on, CIG. Are you guys really gonna hold on to this until tomorrow? Yeah, that's how I feel, Sabo. Like, there are a lot of people I know that play Elite, and they ask me to get in to Elite and do combat stuff, and I don't want anything to do with it because I'm not going to do engineering. I would consider doing engineering if it was the same way that what do you call it, Guardian Tech is, where you did the grind for the components and the research, and then once you unlock a Guardian component, you could just straight buy it whenever the fuck you want. If engineering was something where like you paid the resources to get up to that tier, and then whenever you wanted to apply that engineering research to any component, you could just do it. Maybe pay like credits to apply it. I would be fine with that. But I'm not going to go out and fucking harvest the shit out of the fucking universe to get the components every single time I want to engineer a component over and over again. Fuck that. Fuck no. I'm hard pass. You can go fucking eat a dick, Frontier. Well, this is very depressing that no moly moly. This makes me sad. Very sad. CIG, if you're out there, please do better. I'm heartbroken right now. I was really excited to drunkenly mine the universe tonight. I just don't care about it in Mosquito. Like, the general vibe towards PvP from Frontier has me so turned off that I just don't give a shit about combat in Elite Dangerous at all. Like, I have no desire to do it. Especially because, like, I already don't like the flight model compared to Star Citizen. Especially, like, coming up through, like, the old school, hyper agile Star Citizen flight model. Like, flying in Elite is already kind of taxing on me. Like, it's enjoyable to kind of chill and do, like, mining or cargo hauling. But to do combat in Elite, I already am at, like, a point where I don't like it compared to, like, what I'm used to. And then you add in, like, all the other shit with Elite Dangerous, and I have no desire to do combat in Elite. Yeah, I mean, really, Mole. If anybody should get early access to that Mole, it's you. That makes sense. That checks out. I want to know why all these other people are getting, dev visits of the Mole and getting to play around with it, and you're sitting here, literally namesake. Why don't you have a Mole? Answer me that one, Craiglin. Go ahead. PM me. Justice for Mole. Justice for Mole. Oh God, I would not want to click that video, Mad Mike. I'm sure that's a year in review of, oh my God, I banged my stepsister. Oops, I fell on my stepsister with my penis. I can only imagine a Pornhub in review. Yeah, I mean, they could have at least asked you, right, Mo? I really feel like they dropped the ball. Zav, it looks like no Mole. The patch just got pushed, so if they're gonna do it, CIG, if you're watching, go ahead and now's the time to pull the fucking lever and open up the Mole gate. Damn, so you didn't even change it for the sale. You never know, like, it's kind of unfortunate how free people are to change that Spectrum handle. So like, you never know who's doing it for like something that's going on within the game. Yeah, like you constantly get people changing their handle on Spectrum. Like, half the time I'm like, who the fuck is this? And then I'll see the actual, like, permanent @ handle, and I'm like, oh, it's this dude. Oh, what's up, man? Like, it throws me off hard. It's really hard to adjust back over to Elite flying because it feels so much slower. Because especially if you played old school Star Citizen, it's fucking insanely slower. Like, I see a lot of people say, like, oh, well, what if you fly Elite with flight assist off? It's not even remotely comparable to even current Star Citizen feels much faster and more agile. Unfortunately, very drifty, but like, way more responsive than flying in Elite. But, like, if you look at old school Star Citizen, when you basically had Battlestar Galactica flight model, it's very hard for me to switch over to Elite and enjoy it because I'm so used to, like, that's what I want. I would love to see CIG move back towards that, but I'm not going to count on it. But even in current state, like, Star Citizen's flight model is just so much more responsive and it feels more agile than Elite Dangerous. I mean, like I can enjoy flying in Elite, especially with VR. But I like if I'm playing Elite, it's to do like mining or cargo or something like that, something more like chill, where I can like be doing something in Elite while also watching Netflix, basically. I haven't played Squad in a long fucking time. Um, I don't really care for like milsim infantry shit, just because like reasons. I just don't care about that kind of stuff as much. No, I've never done. I don't think I've ever done multi crew in Elite. Like I've seen a clip of it, um, and honestly, like I think the turret gameplay in Elite is at least kind of like makes sense. Um, See, that's the thing, right? Like if you want to do immersion and be like, oh, it would be absurd to have like a magic camera around the ship type deal. For sure, then the system in Elite is bad. Um, but if you want like turrets that are actually going to be like workable outside of like automating them in Star Citizen, then you kind of need to do it that way because it's just so fucking hard to accurately employ turrets in Star Citizen because of like 6 degrees of freedom and like all the different planes of attack and everything else. Like it, not to mention the speeds and coordinating turrets and just turrets are bad. I don't like turrets at all. I think like Chris is gonna struggle on that hill for the game's life. At least until like you can automate them by putting a blade in them or an NPC. Oh, for sure, Sabo. There's been multiple times where like, I mean, obviously, thank God I don't stream Elite really, but I'll be playing Elite with the VR headset on, and like it's just so relaxing. Like that's what I mean. Like I like Elite for like chill flying. But yeah, it's so relaxing. The sound design is really well done in Elite Dangerous. Like if you're mining, like you just hear the rocks or the asteroids shifting around and stuff. Um, and it's just so chill zone. It definitely like makes me super sleepy. Like I'll pass out and wake back up, and I'm like, oh yeah, right, okay, mining. Gotta send out my limpets. It's definitely like a very chilled out experience. Let me know when you do that shitfest liquor cheeseburger party. I want in on that. That sounds like my kind of fucking game event. Oh man, Cloud Imperium, you're really killing us tonight. Yeah, I think like the thing that really irritates me too though is like them showing off the mole so much in the PTU and then like not saying anything about like, oh hey, it's gonna be going on sale X day. Like how hard is it to say, hey, we're selling it Thursday or hey, we're selling it Friday? Like You've literally had like 2 videos going over the mole basically. Like, is it really that much work for you to be like, hey, we're gonna sell it on insert day? Especially when it like majority of the time they list or they put up new concepts after Thursday's event or Thursday's show. It feels retarded to call it ISC, especially when it's had like 30 different fucking names at this point. But usually after Thursday's show is when they put up the new sale. So it's really weird that like, one, they're not selling it right now, and two, that like they can't even on Thursday's show be like, hey, we're gonna be buy your mole tomorrow or something, you know? It's really weird. Mole, you have a great night, man. It was good seeing you. And I swear to God, if it's January, like if you just jinxed it and it's January, I swear to fucking God. I would guess yes, Joshua. Like common sense wise, it would be the right assumption that the mole will be the new loaner for the Orion. I would be very surprised if they don't change that. If the prospector is still the Orion loaner, people are gonna riot, like legit riot. People will legit be very fucking angry. So I would assume yes. Hey Garrett, how's it going? I mean, it just makes sense, right? Like, and I think traditionally they usually just that kind of stuff, like the Hammerhead becoming the Idris loaner when it came out. I would assume that's what's going to happen. Hey Jesse, how's it going? I haven't played Imperium yet. No. Um, my issue with it is like I want to do my own railjack, right? Like I don't want to have to use somebody else's. But I don't want to do that credit grind. 6 million credits or whatever it is absurd to me. Um, and it's not even that hard to do it, right? Like I could sit down for like an hour, 2 hours in the index and get the credits. It's so irritating that I'm literally just throwing them away. And then also like what is it, 12 hours per piece? I started going through it and then I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm over this. My excitement is tapered off for now. Like I'm sure at some point I'll be like, oh yeah, I want to go do index and finish up my railjack, but I'm not there right now because there's just other games I want to play and stuff. At some point, if I get like worn down on other things to play, then yeah, I'll probably do it. I agree with you, Noada. It's really weird that what do you call it? They're not just because like back in the day, that's how CIG used to do it, right? If there was a new ship for like whatever build, whether it be 3.1, 3.2, 3.8, during PTU, everybody would have access to it. And like this new, I mean, it's a sales technique. Let's be real, it's a sales technique where only the devs have it and they drive it around showing it off to everybody to whip up hype. I really fucking hate that. I hate it so much. It really irritates me. So yeah, I would love to see them go back to the old system where like everybody had access to it at the same time. Like it was fair to everybody to be able to like get their hands on it, go over it, decide if they wanted to buy it. It really irritates me that now either you have to run into a dev who lets you fucking tour it, or you have to wait for the sale, wait for somebody else to buy it, and then ask them to get a look at it and see if it's your cup of tea. I really don't like that. I mean, it's like it's cool having CIG employees in the PTO and like actually like interacting with everybody. I just think it's unfortunate that this is the method in which they do it. It's really kind of a bummer. that like they're basically acting as like an arm of the marketing team versus like just genuinely playing with us. Oh, for sure. I mean, people pushing, or I mean, people using the gray market is absolutely a symptom of like Cloud Imperium's own marketing shit. They literally drive people to the gray market. Like there wouldn't be a reason to use the gray market outside of like some concept ships being priced lower, but after they receive price jumps, if CIG like got rid of how they did limited bullshit. And I'm sure most backers would rather give CIG the money versus buying it third party. But, you know, is what it is. Yeah, see, like that kind of shit is I have no desire to deal with that right now, Mosquito. Like there's just other games I can play. I'm sure at some point, like I'll get around to Railjack, but like between the credit grind and all the other crap, I just don't want to deal with it. Yeah, I agree. I really hate the artificial scarcity. Especially with like it it would be one thing if CIG actually stood by the whole like, oh, this ship is limited, it's gonna be rare. But like none of them really are. Like I remember when people were like, oh, the 890 is gonna be so rare, nobody's gonna have it. Like literally everybody I know has one either in buyback or actually in their hangar. You could jump into almost any server and be like, hey, can somebody pull an 890 for me? And as long as like somebody's in a good mood, somebody's gonna be like, yeah, sure, man. Um, it just irritates me that like they do the limited sales where like ships like the Saber, the Hurricane, the Super Hornet, the Freelancer Mist, right? Like all these ships that are flyable fucking for one sake or one thing. Um, but like there's no reason for them not to be available to everybody whenever they want. And that's the shit that really to me is irritating as hell. I would say depending on when you played last Up Syndrome. I haven't tested the most recent build that came out like maybe 40 minutes ago, an hour ago. But the build prior to that, I think it was the November build. So this should be Oscar, I think. Hold on, let me double check real quickie. Boop, 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 boop. Anyways, the build before the one that literally just came out a little bit ago was pretty fucking stable. I didn't have any problems with servers getting 30K'd. Um, I was on a server for like 5 hours or something like that, and then I had to get off. So the server outlasted me for the first time in the 3.8 PTU. So stability seems to be in the right area, or at least on track, as long as it's continued over in the newest patch. In terms of like actual content in 3.8, there's a lot of really good fixes and improvements to the overall game there. Microtech's really pretty. If you want to like go take screenshots and stuff like that, and then definitely worth getting on. Combat is ish. it's not terrible, right? Like AI especially is in a much better place than 3.5, 3.6. Um, I wouldn't say it's drastically better than 3.7, but they don't seem to kind of like jank as bad as 3.7. They still kind of do some weird shit that frankly just looks like the AI is cheating. Um, but it could be worse. Um, quality of life shit. All the rest stops have been completely gutted and redone on the inside, and they're honestly really pretty cool. There's some like nitpicks over the interiors that I could make, but for the most part, they're really cool. They put habitation modules in all of the rest stops and orbital stations, which is super fucking nice. Because you can save to a rest stop instead of having to like save to only major spaceports. Because previously, like Olisar was like the most convenient if you wanted to pull a ship, and not have to deal with like trams or elevators and all that other bullshit. And now you have every rest stop. And the nice thing is like you can pick a rest stop that's in an area of Stanton that you actually want to play in, and like you're good to go. That's your respawn point. I like that a lot. That was something I've complained about for a long time, and I'm so happy they fixed that. So yeah, if you haven't played Star Citizen in a while, I would say 3.8 PT is probably worth installing for sure. There's a lot of other things that they've added or improved on, but what do you call it? Fuck. Yeah, I don't know if like they've fixed everything in this new build. In the last build, the main focus new mission, which is the 890 jump hijack mission, kind of highlighted that a lot of people were having issues with FPS gameplay. Weapons weren't firing, or if you swapped weapons, you would literally drop them into like another dimension because they would stop existing. So there's definitely still bugs in the PTU, but overall, like it's definitely worth checking out if you haven't played for a while, especially. Oh yeah, that's true too. Quantum travel times were drastically cut down for a lot of ships, especially smaller ships. They went with speeding up the quantum travel times on smaller ships, but they decreased the quantum fuel tanks. So you might have to make like pit stops to the different what do you call it, rest stops along the way, but it'll be a lot quicker. So like if you have traditionally been stuck in like a single seater fighter, and you're just sitting there like, oh my god, kill me, am I there yet? It's been fucking 10 plus minutes. You shouldn't run into that anymore. I mean, honestly, I think that's the way that CIG should have done it from the get go. But yeah, it's definitely a lot of people hated the old quantum travel times, so a lot of people are really enjoying that change. So yeah, if you weren't a fan of that, you definitely have that to look forward to. I'm a little bit sad because longer quantum travel times were kind of like my break. Like I would spool up, jump, and then go do other shit. So I personally like them, but I understand why a lot of people did not. I was also somebody who like really loved the what do you call it, Smeaton Orbital cargo loop in Elite Dangerous, and that was like 45 minutes one way trip. So obviously, like I enjoy the longer quantum, whereas other people don't. You have a good one, Ark. I'll see you later, man. They're pretty quick, Zim. I haven't timed them out, and I'm sure there's a spreadsheet somewhere. I know from what do you call it? From ArcCorp to Microtech, which is literally like the full length all the way across Stanton. It's 4 minutes and 40 seconds in a Vanguard. It's fucking fast. It's really quick. Yeah, I agree, Noana. I think that the problem is like there's no gameplay when you're in those long jump So like a lot of people, it's very frustrating, especially if you're in a single seat fighter where like you can't get out of the seat. You're literally just stuck there watching space go by. It's definitely frustrating. I think the problem that Star Citizen suffers with though is like it isn't necessarily the longer quantum travel times. It's that like they're necessary, right? Like let's say you spawn at Olisar and like whether it be your Aurora or your Titan or your Super Hornet, right? Like any of those single seater fighters, um, the first mission you pick up is almost certainly going to take you halfway across Stanton, and you're going to go over there, do your 10 to 15 minute jump, right? Get there, and then you do your mission, and then the next mission you pick up, it's almost certainly going to take you back the other way across Stanton. Then you're doing another 10-15 minute jump. Like the problem that Star Citizen has is that it doesn't have localized content and gameplay. Like you can't pick up missions uh, at like Daymar, let's say, and reliably keep getting gameplay around Daymar. Like you can't open up your Moby Glass and be like, okay, I want to do a box run from like Daymar to Port Olisar. Okay, I do that. Now I want to get a box run from Olisar to an outpost on Daymar. Like that kind of gameplay doesn't exist. It's almost like board flipping in Elite used to be, right? Like you can't tailor your experience to the area you want to operate in, and that's a huge problem for Star Citizen. Because if you had reliable gameplay that like kept you in one area on like either a planet or a sector of Stanton, like let's say even like just in around Crusader, right, with like Daymar, Selen, stuff like that, you wouldn't have to worry about like those long quantum travel times, right? Like going from Olisar to ArtCorp would be something that like you rarely did, or like, hey, I want to go meet up with my friends. Like it would be more of like a unique travel thing versus something you are literally doing constantly anytime you play. I would love them to do something with the screens in game. That would be so cool. Anything. I don't even fucking care whether it's like browsing YouTube or if they put mini games like Vanguard Defense Force on the screens. Like anything. Please do something with all the TV screens in Star Citizen that literally do nothing right now. That would be great. Yeah, I agree, Sod White. I personally like them. Yeah, like for me, it's a bio break. It's change the show over on Netflix. It's get up and go grab some food, or like anything else. Like I personally really like it, and especially if we get to a point where like there are things that need to be done on bigger ships. I'm fine with them slowing bigger ship quantum down even more, so that like you can carry out maintenance or whatever the hell you might do on a bigger ship. I don't mind them. I'm personally totally okay with it, but I understand why people don't like it, and I can understand why, like, especially for people who aren't backers and they're watching Star Citizen to try to see like what it's like. I understand why so many of them are like, "Oh, this is the gameplay, huh?" I totally get that. It's obviously frustrating when all you're seeing is like 15 minutes of space going by you. But again, I personally don't mind them, but I think like a lot of people, like I would say the majority, weren't happy with the longer times. So I'm personally not going to complain about it because unfortunately the patch went in a direction that I didn't want it to go, but I think most people wanted that. So I'm just going to have to sit here and be the grumpy, I wish it wasn't like this minority. I mean, unfortunately though, Wiser, like that's the system currently, right? Like for a lot of things you can't stack missions like you could in Elite. Like let's say box missions, right? Like every now and then you get a blue moon, the stars align situation where you can find multiple missions that are either starting at one station or ending up at one station, right? So like you'd fly out there, you'd grab one box, you'd go grab your other box, and you go to deliver, and then you would try to turn in the one, and it would make your other box disappear. Like it's really hard to like figure out how to do more than one thing in an area outside of like the bounty hunter missions where like you can cheese it to basically be what was it Delamar or whatever over and over again. But I don't really count that as like having reliable gameplay in one area. I would say the tech demo is going fairly good, actually. I mean, pleasantly surprisingly. 3.8 honestly is bringing quite a bit of good stuff to the game. If persistence actually like sticks with it and they keep expanding on it, then it's a major step towards like one of the biggest things that I complain about with Star Citizen. I mean, it's totally possible that by the end of 2020, I could be at a point where like I don't have any reservations about recommending the people like check out the game. I feel like they've fixed quite a few things that I don't like in 3.8, and there's more stuff throughout 2020 that if it doesn't fall off of the roadmap would just add to that. I think my biggest complaint with like the state of the game in 3.8 is that like they did all the planets in V4 Planet Tech, right? And they look fucking really good. I hadn't gone back to any of the old ones the last time I was like streaming or playing. And I went back to Daymar and I was like, holy shit, Daymar looks fucking good. It looks so much better. But the problem is, excuse me, you got out onto these planets, right? And there's nothing to do there. And that's kind of like the real bummer with Star Citizen right now is like there's just nothing to really do on these planets. And it's such a fucking waste because like it looks amazing, but there's just nothing to do. Yeah, unfortunately, like I'm definitely not at a point like where I'm looking at the roadmap and I'm like, oh yeah, this is gospel. I can put my faith in this. It's not there yet. Star Citizen, or rather CIG, has not reached a point where like I can trust the roadmap. I can look at the roadmap and hope for the best, but expect the worst, and that's usually what I do. Um, if the roadmap for 2020 pans out, then that's fucking great. It'd be really cool. There's some stuff on there that I would love to see, but until it's in the patch notes, my stance usually is like I don't really count on it until like it's in the patch notes and like I can log in and get my hands on it. So I mean, 2020, if things pan out the way CIG's hyping them to, then yeah, there's a lot of good shit there. It'll change the way I look at Star Citizen, and I think it'll change the landscape of the game in general for sure. But until that happens, though, I'm kind of like, yeah, well, we'll see what happens. The Prowler is coming in March. The Carrack is coming in February, and the Cutlass Red is coming in January. So that's what the three ships timelines are looking like currently. Hey, Janos. So at this point, not a whole lot. We were waiting for the mole. It kind of made sense that CIG would sell it today because usually they sell it after ATV, RTV, ISC, whatever else they want to call it. That's usually when they unlock the new concept on Thursdays. But so far, no mole. Um, so yeah, when we started up the stream, it was basically Concierge going fucking crazy with spamming chat nonstop with mole parodies and stuff like that. It's amusing if you want to see like a whole community unite asking CIG to hurry up and sell us a ship. Unfortunately, the tactic did not seem to work. I don't remember how long they were doing it during this stream, but they were doing it for probably at least a solid hour before I started streaming. And I was just kind of like watching. I was like, fuck, man, well, I guess we can at least stream and wait to see if the mole goes live. And if it does go live, then we can switch over to the PTU. Unfortunately, it's looking like CIG is going to shaft us. And no mole today, so probably tomorrow night, which really sucks. I was really looking forward to the mole. So yeah, at this point, not a whole lot going on since it doesn't look like the mole's coming. And that was really what I wanted to do tonight was do some mining with everybody from the channel. So womp womp. I mean, I could try jumping in the PTU and praying to God that a developer graces me with the presence of a mole, but the odds of that are probably not great. So I don't know about that. We'll see. I think what I'm going to end up doing is shutting down, since it doesn't look like the concept sale is going to be coming out. And then we'll jump into 3.8 a little later tonight. Like, I'll have a chance to eat really quick, and then we'll go cruising around in the PTU and hope to God that we bump into a dev and they're willing to let us play around with the mole. Because unfortunately, with the new system that CIG does it, since the Mantis at least, evidently this is going to be a thing that they're going to keep doing, and it wasn't a one-off with the Mantis. Instead of when a new ship is coming live with a milestone patch, it used to be that it was added to the PTU ship list and everybody could test it and mess with it and, you know, whatever. And now what they do is only the developers have it, and then they spawn it and, like, let people look at it if you run into one. That's kind of a bummer. Because it used to be really nice to be able to, like, oh, hey, you know, for content creators especially, right? Like, obviously, it's kind of a biased situation for me where, like, you can get your hands on it before the sale goes, or before it goes to the live build. You can review it, give your thoughts on it, whatever. But even for backers, right, it was nice because you could get a chance to look over the ship and decide, like, oh, do I want to buy this concept? Is this a ship I would enjoy? And with the new system, you don't get that, which is kind of frustrating. I don't even know yet, Wiser. I'm kind of, like, postponing it, hopefully until, like, mid 2020. So it'll just depend on, like, what's available at the time when I decide to fucking base. I'm probably gonna do a whole build, like, start from scratch on a new tower and go from there. We'll see. The game is becoming so good because CIG doesn't buckle under gimme gimme. Uh, I don't know about that. I've been putting off, like, doing a full build for a while. That was the reason I picked up the 2070, because I knew it would kind of carry me over for at least another year. Because, like, I wanted to see what AMD did, and go from there. Yeah, exactly. Like, the Ryzen sound really interesting. I've been on Intel for so fucking long, and I've heard, like, a lot of good things about Ryzen. So I'm kind of at the point where, like, I want to wait probably till at least mid 2020, maybe a little bit later. I want to see what Nvidia does with like, next gen cards. Because if I'm gonna or if I'm gonna build a whole new PC, I'm just gonna go ahead and blow my load on it. So I kind of want to wait and see, like, what all is around, probably late 2020. Because, like, right now I can run Star Citizen pretty comfortably, so I'm not super worried about it yet. I think that's the big thing for me, right? Like, I'm kind of trying to run this one into the ground. I haven't reached a point now where, like, I can't run other games like Star Citizen. Obviously, like, I'm not getting 100 frames per second or anything, but I think very few people are getting anything close to that without, like, multi $1,000 rigs. So I mean, at this point, like, I'm just kind of, like, letting this thing go until I it hits a point where I have trouble running other games on high, and then when I hit that, that's probably when I'll be like, all right, buddy, we had a good run. Time to move on over. Yeah, I mean that's the thing too, Wiser. Like you can, I mean, there are people with literally like $10,000 rigs, and they still run Star Citizen at like 70 frames per second. The game just isn't optimized. So I mean, like, there's no point to go out there and like just blow insane amounts of money on a rig just for Star Citizen. That's why like I'm basically just waiting until I have trouble with other games, and I don't think I'm hitting anything close to that point yet. I doubt it. I doubt it, MC. I'm sure if CIG had a problem with it, I would have heard about it already. It depends on patch to patch. In 3.8, I actually went down like 8 to 10 frames on average. I was getting like 45 in Area 18, and now I'm getting like 35 around that area. And out in space, it's quite a bit higher. It's like anywhere from like 65 to 80. It just depends. Oh no, Jersey, did they fuck up the stability again? It's back to 30K. Please tell me no. I was actually hoping to play tonight. Oh man, that sucks. Because it was so smooth in the last build. Um, like the servers were like really really reliable for me all day. I really hope they didn't break them again. Yeah, that sounds good, Sabo. You have a great night, man. Yeah, unfortunately, like there's not a whole lot of point in them optimizing it when like literally every patch completely like pulls the bottom brick out on Jenga. So I mean, at this point, like worry about optimizing it like later on. Like there's so many other things that they need to worry about getting into the game. I haven't used the saber since, fuck man, I don't even know if I used it in 3.3. I might have used it a little bit in 3.3, and prior to that, like the last time I used it a lot would have been in like a 2.6 build. I haven't used the saber in so long. I just don't like the medium fighters. Like when it comes to dogfighting, I've leaned on the Vanguard for so many years now. I don't know if there is like one that's always the best though. Honestly, Wiser, like it shifts so much with patch to patch, and like it depends on like um it depends on like what happens with weapons also. So I don't even know how to answer that honestly. Um, I don't know if I've noticed a difference with server side OCS. Because like the biggest change should be in the server's performance, and unfortunately, the majority of the builds have been very unstable with servers throwing 30Ks. So I don't know. Like this last build was really, really stable and it felt really good outside of like bugs that were happening. But all the other builds have been like really plagued with 30Ks. Yeah, correct. This is like the first iteration of server-side OCS. Yeah, like, man, Gimbal Assist has thrown such a fucking wrench into PvP and combat balance in general. But especially for PvP, like that's changed things up so fucking much. I don't know if it's a case of like ships needing balancing passes or if it's an issue where CIG just really needs to. They need to have trade offs on using gimbal assist because right now there doesn't fucking feel like one. I can't think of one. You're basically fucking yourself by not gimbal assisting, even if it means downsizing guns. You're almost always getting more DPS by downsizing to gimbal assist than playing fixed or playing regular gimbal. And that's not how that should work. The most meta thing should not be completely auto or basically not auto aiming, but I mean it's pretty fucking close. But automating your aiming, right, to where like you're just focused on flying and you're not even worried about aiming. Like the reward for manually aiming with fixed is fucking definitely not there compared to gimbal assist. It just needs to be tuned. It really needs to be like reevaluated. I think like part of the problem though, Wiser is like they've had so many bugs that are affecting frame rate. Like you had the 890 jump mission, I think was originally causing some problems. For whatever reason, people doing cargo with like the Caterpillar would literally tank server frame rate for everybody. I don't know why that happens, but evidently it fucking does. Um, Stuff like that. So like it's really kind of skewing like perception of whether or not server side OCS is working well or not because there's so many other things happening like bug wise right now that are drastically affecting performance. So I mean, and that's kind of one of the reasons too. I don't want to do preview videos anymore on the PTU. I'd rather just stream it and people can see how it evolves from like the course of PTU, and then when it hits live, then at that point they decided it was good enough to go to live build. So at that point, I don't feel like I don't want to say shady, but like maybe dirty. I don't feel bad like reviewing the overall state of the PU when it's on live, but like in PTU, like there's just so many things going on, and usually these PTU waves last a lot longer. It feels like they're trying to hurry up to get open PTU for everybody, right? Like a stable open PTU before they go on holiday break. So I think things are rougher, quicker than they normally are. Like usually they take more time and like it's more fleshed out how they go about this. It just feels like they're really rushing. No auto, yeah, automated aiming. So like with gimbal assist, essentially what you do is uh, if you have guns that are gimbaled, there's a new mode called gimbal assist. And what that does is it automates the gimbals. So you don't actually aim them anymore. You just point your ship in the direction of your target, and there's like a little circle. And as long as you keep your target inside of that circle, the gimbals will automatically aim at it. So it's essentially auto aiming. I haven't messed with Vorpex in a long time. It's not the same. It would be cool to like see it, I guess maybe, but I mean I've already done it before, so like at the same time like there's really no benefit for me to do it. And like in terms of like actually using it in Star Citizen, it's just too cumbersome and it doesn't work right. Yeah, Nawada, is it? It's in 3.7. They introduced it in 3.5. I think in 3.5. It might have been in 3.6, but yeah, they introduced it a while back. It's been in for a while. It's been a very hot topic among PvP players because a lot of people are not happy with gimbal assist because to them it takes the skill out of it. Which like I mean I think that like they do need something like that because a lot of people have trouble with combat, and if you're gonna force combat on basically anybody playing Star Citizen in one form or another, I think it's okay to have kind of like handicaps like that that allow people to still be able to enjoy the game even if combat's not what they want to do, because if you're going to force combat on people, like it's only fair. The problem is like it shouldn't be to where like the handheld mode is better than literally every other option, and that's how it is right now. Yeah, so like, and that's the big thing for me, right? Like I really like fixed, because I like having like that big alpha strike, which I mean, obviously, like I fly a Vanguard for like most combat, so like I like having those big weapons, and the Vanguard frankly just lends itself to fixed because the nose clusters are defaulted fixed. Unfortunately, doing that you're in a huge disadvantage because the gimbal assist is a major like one up over fixed or even gimbal aiming, because you don't have like it's like firing fixed but having the guns automatically aim at the target, right? So like one of the things that I like about fixed is I can focus on flying, right? Um, I don't have to worry about aiming, if that makes sense, right? Like I'm not using my mouse to independently aim while also trying to use my mouse to fly because I do keyboard and mouse. Whereas gimbals you have to like navigate and engage. So with gimbal assist, it's super nice because you literally like you just keep your ship oriented on the target. So like you're literally focused on just navigating and holding down the mouse button when you keep the bad guy in the center. Um, so yeah. Can you change the useless chin mounted gun on the Harbinger? Yes, you can. Thank God. There aren't a whole lot of options, unfortunately, for that size 4, size 5 mount. Size 4 if you want it to be gimbaled. Size 5 if you want it to be fixed. But thankfully, you can get rid of the combined ballistic cannon, which is all I fucking care about because that thing is literally completely useless. Yeah, exactly what Hitman said. Like fix just is not viable in PvP with the current meta. You're literally hamstringing yourself if you fly fixed, especially in PvP. Until CIG like redresses gimbal assist and like makes there be a true trade off because there just isn't one right now. Um, you're really hindering yourself by playing with anything but gimbal assist. Yeah, there is one of the space shotguns. I haven't used it. The last time I used it, it wasn't hit regging right. But again, the last time I used that was in like 3.5, I think it was. It was a long time ago. So I haven't messed with it. I'm sure that I probably should. I just haven't yet. It's been a while. I haven't really cared about combat since the flight model rework because I just don't like the way it drifts. Um, so combat's kind of like taking a backseat for me for now. I think a big part of the problem was like when I was last using them, was when like AI were super desyncy, and at the time cannons were still viable. So like I just had no reason to use them. It's probably worth checking out now, but back then, there were just way better options. One sec, sorry. Ah, fuck. One sec, guys. I got a phone call. All right, guys. Well, it looks like it's gonna be a sad night in the Moleverse because so far it's not showing up on the store page anywhere, and it's pretty damn late. So I'm gonna go ahead and assume that CIG is not gonna be gracing us with the mole tonight. That really breaks my heart because I was really looking forward to playing with that. Unfortunately, my kids are on their way back from a wedding, so I'm gonna have to go ahead and focus on getting them straight to fucking bed because it's late as shit. So yeah, I might come back a little later to do some PTU stuff because, like I said, it might not hurt to just dick around and hopefully we run into a dev somewhere. That way we can mess around with the mole, but I'm not going to count on that. But yeah, we'll see. I don't know what we'll do yet. Maybe some PTU if the patch is actually working. We'll see. But yeah, anyways, you guys all have a great night. In case I don't come back, we'll see. To be determined, especially if the patch is bad. If the patch is bad, like if it's back to throwing 30Ks, then I'm not gonna fuck around with that. I'm gonna go to bed. Hopefully it's working. Cause yeah, like you said, Hitman, like the last build was super fucking stable. I was on it until I had to get off, and then again this morning I was on the PTU literally like most of the morning, and I never had an issue. I had to go do some other stuff, and I literally got AFK'd out. So hopefully it's still that stable because it was really great. This today was like probably the best I've seen it easily. So, oh, I will be back before Christmas for sure. You can count on that. Yeah, we can do the 890 jump mission again, Move Speed. Hopefully guns are working now. I would like to assume that they are, since literally everybody and their mother was like, CIG, I can't shoot my gun. I'm hoping they fix that. We'll have to see. Anyways, though, guys, I'm going to head out before the kids come busting in here screaming. I will see you guys maybe later tonight. No promises, but definitely possible. Just depends on what people are saying about the new patch. So, y'all have a good one.